Good morning, folks. Welcome to my part of the world, the Gold Coast, Australia, where I'm going to have a good day because the coffee cup says so. And let me see. Ding dong, somebody's at my door. Who is at my door? None other than Mr. Rick Brewster from the Angels. Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Pretty good, thanks.
That's good, mate.
Bit cold down here, but apart from that,
Whereabouts is down here?
probably got nice warm weather up there, have you?
I do live in the land of eternal sunshine, mate. It gets a little bit cold at night, but daytime. Actually, I was talking to Thomas McLaughlin last night, who was based in the UK, and he said they were having a heat wave. And I asked him, "What do you call a heat wave?" And he said, "Oh, it hit 25 degrees." And I said, "Mate, that's a winter's day at midday for me." And he was like, "Whoa, we're dying." So, what part of the world are you in?
Tasmania.
Tasmania. Okay, so it must be cold down there.
Southeast.
Yeah. Wow. Mate,
Yeah.
I usually
It's
start
getting
by.
cold.
I bet it has.
Yep.
You get the Antarctic wind coming up, I'd say.
Bit of that, yeah.
Yeah. Mate, I usually kick off by asking people what started the love affair with this 6-string thing we call the guitar. How did it all start for you?
I sort of came in sideways. I was learning classical piano when I was even younger than you. I don't know, in the teens it was all classical piano.
Yeah.
After school practicing and all of that,
Yeah.
and doing exams and everything. And my brother John, he started playing mostly Bob Dylan songs up in the bedroom with a guitar, and it got my interest at some point. So I don't know, I found a guitar somewhere and started learning a few Beatles songs and Everly Brothers, Simon and Garfunkel, bit of Bob Dylan, Donovan. And that was good that I played with a few friends at school. But when we started the jug band, we needed a washboard player.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I went from classical piano to washboard. We did that for about 3 years in Adelaide. And that was great. It's still one of my all-time favourite instruments.
Really?
In fact, the day the Red Hot Summer Tour it was cancelled because of COVID. I was due to go on stage with Living End, playing the washboard to the fastest song I've ever played, End of the World.
Cool.
So it didn't happen, but it will. It will happen when we go back on the road with that lineup. So that was Jug Band. Then John and Doc and we decided to start an electric band. And that's when I first tried an electric guitar. And I just said straight away, I want to be the lead guitarist. Knew nothing about it.
Yep.
But we went on the road. I gradually learned how to play a few things. And then I saw Billy Thorpe, blew my mind. Then it was Daddy Cool, same thing. Then we did a short tour with AC/DC, and that was it. I just wanted to play guitar.
Cool. So how did your brother John take to being designated as the rhythm guitarist if you put your hand straight up and said, "I'm playing lead"?
he was very happy to.
Yep.
He never wanted to play anything else.
Yeah,
Which
cool.
I'm very, very happy about, because he's an amazing rhythm guitar player.
Yep.
Um, we definitely have this, the brother connection. It's alive and well. It's a real thing. We sort of
Absolutely.
read each other.
Yep. Yep. It is very obvious in bands that have brothers that these guys grew up playing music together. Now, you said the washboard, which is a rhythmic instrument, and I keep telling people that playing guitar in a band is 95% playing rhythm guitar. So if your rhythm guitar chops suck, what type of guitar player are you? So do you feel that somehow contributed to your guitar playing?
Definitely. Yeah, that was something we learned early on. From once we signed record deal with Alberts, then we had George Young, Harry Vander, Angus and Malcolm in and out of the studio all the time. They all said the same thing. It's all about the feel.
Mm-hmm.
And John and I started playing rhythm parts, riffs, identical. We just to fatten up the sound, that's something we learned from AC/DC.
Uh-huh.
And then, all I had to do was put a few frills on the top when it came time for a solo.
Cool. And do you think that having started on piano, did that have any benefit in coming up with melodies and the like? Because you are a very melodic lead guitarist. I mean, you cannot play an Angel song and not play the solo like it is on the record, or else it just does a great disjustice to the song, I feel. So do you think that helped in some way?
Yeah, it was. I think it was crucial to how I approached solo playing. There was that one I learned from my father, who was a classical cellist,
Oh, really?
and he was a man of few words, but he used to walk past the piano, and his favourite thing to say was, "Make the melody sing."
Wise
And he meant
words.
whatever hand is playing the melody. Sometimes it's the left hand, sometimes it's the right hand, but you just hit that little bit harder and you make it sing. And it's all about melody. So that lesson from classical piano, combined with not really knowing much about playing on a guitar, gave me the approach of sing a melody in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and grab a guitar and work out how to play it.
Awesome.
So, because I didn't have a huge battery of licks
Yeah.
to draw from. I couldn't sort of go. Improvising was something I'd hardly even heard the word.
Mm-hmm.
Classical music, classical piano, you just play it as it's written. So that came later, much later, gradually learning a little bit of how to improvise.
Okay.
But up till then, it was all write a melody and play it,
Yep.
and play the same melody every night.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's all about the execution, the performance. And some nights it's better than others.
Cool. So actually, somebody in the chat there, and it's Ben White. Hey, Ben, thanks for tuning in, mate, is saying iconic solos with a big love heart there. So they are, aren't they? They're just iconic. Now, Rick, you said that you started off playing Bob Dylan, and funnily enough, my first song I ever learnt to play on the guitar was The Times They Are A-Changing. I had to do that in high school.
Yeah.
And this seems to be a common thing with everyone that I've had a bit of a chat with, that they all started out playing folk music, but then it's a big jump from strumming those kinds of sounds to the sound of the hard rock that you guys are known for. What bridged that gap? What brought that hard rock edge to your playing, do you think?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, see, we went on the road as the Keystone Angels.
Keystone Angels.
That was the Keystone Angels. That was our first electric band.
Okay.
And it was a cover band. We were learning how to play as a band. We had about 2 or 3 original songs. And we just played Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, whatever. A lot of 50s, some 60s songs. Learnt them, played them, fairly badly. But we got work.
Cool.
7 nights a week. We got the AC/DC tour. And Angus and Malcolm and Bon saw something in us, and enough to go and tell George and Harry to come and have a look at the band, and then they signed us up. But so I guess it was hanging around with bands like that, and starting to write our own songs. That's when the transition to, I don't know, I don't even know what hard rock is, but to us it was 2 electric guitars, bass, drums, and learning how to make that. It really came from writing.
Cool. And were you guys writing as a unit then, or did you have one person that essentially brought in the ideas, or 2 people that worked together? How did that work?
There was a lot of collaboration. John and I would write riffs and chord progressions and lyrics, and then Doc would come in and he'd throw in some more lyrics.
Yeah.
So it was for a long time. It was pretty much a 3-way collaboration.
Cool.
And we just throw the ideas around. If we didn't like them, they'd hit the dirt and on to the next one. But it was 7 days a week writing, constant.
Nice.
If we weren't playing on stage, we were writing or recording.
And was Doc playing bass at this stage still?
Yeah, in the early days. He then, we pushed him out front. For, I don't know, the idea it may have even come from George Young. I don't know, but we wanted to get a bass player and have Doc just be a lead singer. Before that, the vocals were shared between John and Doc.
Okay.
John used to sing probably half the repertoire.
Wow. Cool. But Doc definitely took on a persona there, didn't he? That became very iconic. As did you.
Yeah.
What brought on that for you? I kind of know what the answer is, but I'd like to hear it from you, because you are known. If people don't know, I have a lot of international viewers, so they probably don't know the Angels, but your thing was to stand there with your shades on and just be deadpan on stage the whole time. What brought that on, mate?
Well, it was, I wanted to be the opposite of Angus and just about every other lead guitar player who, most of them move around a lot. And Doc was starting to develop his manic persona.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the opposite of all of that. It was a foil. And we played on it. We had, for a couple of years, we had cardboard replicas of me.
No way.
We had them made. We took them on tour with us. I've still got one in my shipping container. But the lights would go down. We got really involved with the light show too. Doc and I sat down one day in Brisbane in the park, and we poured through all these books of photos of expressionist theatre, Bertolt Brecht, and all these expressionists, and that's what we want. We want jagged shapes and black and white, and lots of dark areas, and then full-on white light when the music hits. And so very often there would only be one person on stage lit. Might just be Doc, might just be me. So I Ain't the One, during the verse, during the second verse, I think, the lights would go completely out on me, enough for me to walk off side of stage behind the PA stack. And the roadies would take the cardboard replica out, which would stand in my place. And when the solo hit, the lights would come up. The audience would they wouldn't blink. It was just, yep, they're playing solo. But then at the high point, Doc would come screaming across the stage and karate chop me right in the guts, and the thing would fold in half, and the audience was, the gasp was louder than the band.
Wow.
Over the music. And then he'd rip the head off and frisbee it out. So that was fun.
That's great. That's great. There is an iconic photo of you guys back in the 80s playing a huge show somewhere, and you're standing there with your sunnies on and everything, with blood dripping down your head. I think you'd taken a can or a bottle to the head. Was that very hard to stay in character, so to speak? You've just taken a blow to the head.
Didn't feel that much. That was in New Zealand.
Oh, was it?
Festival, yeah. And it turned out it was a beer glass that hit me, and it shattered. Smacked me right there. But it's a hard part of the head. And I didn't feel much. I only really knew that I'd been cut when I couldn't see out of my right eye because of the blood. So that was easy. We just played on, finished the set, and went backstage, and the medic came, and he took a look at it, and he was drunk. He didn't have his bag of tricks with him, and he said, "Oh, look, give me some toilet paper and a bottle of beer," and he wiped it down with beer.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. I've actually been at a gig where the drummer split his nose open just before the show, and we actually got some super glue and super glued it together because we'd heard that that's what they used to do back in the war days. And that goes through. I don't know if that was actually a very wise thing to do, but we did. It got him through. Now, you mentioned about the Alberts connection with the Vander and Young. What kind of things did they instill into you at that early stage? What did you learn from them?
Same thing as Dad. Make the melody sing. But it was yeah, as I said earlier, for them it's all about the feel.
Yep.
Um, they kept saying it. If it doesn't feel good in the first backing track, you can never fix it. It's got to be there or it's not.
Yeah.
Once you got that feel, then you can do anything you like with it. And they drummed that into us. And when we were playing demos to them, George would sit behind the desk and turn it up, and we'd watch his foot. If it was tapping, we knew it was going to get it tick.
Ooh. That's a good meter. It's a very good meter. Now,
Yeah.
what about gear back then? Oh, sorry, mate. You can
Gear?
go. Yep.
By then, we couldn't afford the Marshalls that we had seen with Billy Thorpe and AC/DC. So we bought a cheaper version called Wasp,
Oh,
which was, I think, made in Sydney. And they were good amps, and they did the job. They were too loud for a lot of the venues that we played, so we used to turn them around, and so the speakers faced the back wall. We kept the volume down because you had to turn the amp up to get the tone.
mm-hmm.
And then finally, when AC/DC decided to leave and go to America, they said, "Oh, do you want to buy these Marshalls?" So we did. And great, we had Marshalls, the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we used them for years and years.
Did you have any boosting in front of those Marshalls, or was it just to crank it up?
No.
No.
No, I used to use two stacks, one for rhythm and the other one, both of them for solos, but I just had a foot switch which I think it was, what was it? I think it just turned on the second amp, or it might have turned the microphone on
Okay.
for the second amp. So
And that was
if
your
I had
boost?
Spotlight, yeah, that was the boost.
So it
Another
wasn't you didn't have any gain boosts for your solos. It was just the same. Yeah. Did you wind back your volume on your guitar for the rhythm parts, or it was just the same sound?
Yeah, a little bit.
A
Yeah,
little bit. Yeah.
yeah. But just having the second amp kick in with more gain, that's all I needed.
Yep.
And that was the tone. That's what we did in the studio too.
Okay.
Just turn the amp up.
Yeah. And no other delay pedals or anything else like that?
That came much later.
Yeah.
It was about 1983 or something.
Yeah.
I got my first Boss digital delay rack mounted thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Wrote a couple of riffs straight away. It was such a novelty to have something like that. I still didn't have a overdrive pedal. I hadn't even heard of them.
Really?
It's early days. No, it was just an amp.
And what about guitars back then? What were you using?
The Epiphone Sheraton. It was the only guitar. Initially that was the only guitar, and then I got a SG. Definitely influenced by Angus.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would use. I still use the Epiphone. I preferred the sound of it for just about everything. But the SG was there as a spare.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, the Sheraton. This is not
There you
it,
go.
but that's the same
Cool.
as the one I had.
Yep.
But the one I had, and the SG, and John's Les Paul and Chris Bailey's Music Man, they all got stolen when the truck got driven away in Chicago, driven away from the hotel. We lost the lot.
I'm glad you had that guitar then, just then, because people are going to crucify me when you said Epiphone Sheraton. I kind of looked away as if to, and they're going to say he didn't know what that was then. So I'm glad that you pulled that out because I didn't know what a Sheraton was. Yeah, and SG. I don't know about how you feel about them, but everything just feels too far this way when I try and play an SG. I read an interview with Joe Satriani just recently, and he was saying he's tried to gel with SGs and he just can't. And that's the thing for me. I'm just going to flick to a screen of me, but everything just feels over here like I'm playing like this.
Top heavy.
Yeah. Did you find that at the time?
Yeah, it's a really lightweight body, and it's just the weight of the headstock, and the neck sits right out from the body, which is fantastic for playing up the top of the neck.
Mm-hmm.
I still love it. I've got a couple of SGs, and I pull them out and use them. They're great.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just hang it around your neck, it will tend to drop because of the weight of the headstock.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but you get used to it. And
I guess like anything,
this tiny guy with an SG, and you can see he's just holding it up the whole time.
That's the other thing I noticed. Like, an SG just feels so small to me, and it looks. I'm 6'3", so it looks tiny on me, and I see it on Angus, and it's like, does he have the world's biggest SG over there, or is he just a small guy? And people said, man, he's just a tiny little guy. So you said.
What about Malcolm though, with
the world's biggest gentleman? What? Yeah, yes, that looks huge on him, doesn't it?
Oh, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, totally. So did you have any evolution of gear throughout the career of the Angels, or did you stick to the Marshall type sound once you got those off AC/DC?
No, we changed a lot. I couldn't tell you how many amps I've been through. We got Marshall combos when we went to America. We bought them and left them there. I don't know what happened to them, but they were good amps. I had a modified Fender Twin. It was a great amp. I got a Mess Boogie at one stage, which I enjoyed. Yeah, I've been through a lot of amps.
I bet.
And, yeah, I mean they're all good. One of my favourite amps, well, two of them actually, are Fenders that I just keep at home. One is a little Blues Junior.
Great little amp.
Tweed Blues Junior. The other one's the what's it called? It's another Junior Fender.
Pro Junior or something.
Pro Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's smaller. It's only about this size, 15 watt.
Yep.
Beautiful type.
Yeah. Lot easier to travel with, and as you said, your original what were they? Wasp amps were way too loud. You had to turn them around the other way. So I guess using a little 15 watter is a lot.
We were very proud of them at the time.
Yeah.
I even made I made covers, sewed the covers for the boxes and the heads out of old blankets and army surplus, tarpaulins.
Hmm. Now,
Treadle sewing machine. The old Singer treadle sewing machine.
was it one of the treadly ones that we had to treadle the feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, my mum had one of those. And when I was a kid, I used to have a go at making my own guitar straps and everything. But I grew up living in a caravan, and that thing would just shake our caravan. Go, and people would go, what the hell's happening in there? And that was me on the treadly Singer making guitar straps for myself. Because
the road crew used to hate me because they had to take it in the truck, and I had it in the motel rooms wherever we went. I was making speaker covers and guitar straps, actually.
And guitar straps, yeah. Have you ever forgotten a guitar strap at a gig and had to make one out of gaffer tape?
No, I haven't done that.
No, I haven't either. But
Good trick.
Yeah. I used to tour in a Queen tribute band for a few years, and Pete Lyons was our front of house guy, and Pete always said, "Mate, if ever you need guitar strap, I can make you one out of gaffer tape in 30 seconds flat, mate." So there must be a few little tricks that the roadies have up their sleeve.
Oh yeah, yeah, the old gaff tape.
Yeah, works wonders.
Plenty of holes in jeans get fixed.
Absolutely. Now, as I said, a big portion of my viewers are actually international, so they're probably not aware that one of you guys' big songs was a song called "Am I Ever Going to See Your Face Again?", in which the crowd will all respond with it's an Aussie, legendary Aussie thing. The whole crowd stands there and goes, "No way, get fucked, fuck off," in time, and it's an iconic Aussie thing. And I'm sure people from overseas will just be like, "What the hell is this? Where did that come from?"
That's a good question.
You guys don't know?
We've never found out. We've had so many people claim ownership that they came up with it, but I don't believe any of them.
Really?
Someone did. It might have started on a cruise ship, or might have been a DJ somewhere started doing it, and it's just one of those things that spread like wildfire. Bush telegraph. There was no internet, no mobile phones, but before we knew it was wherever we played. And that includes America, England.
Wow.
It's like spot the Aussies in the crowd.
Yeah.
And by the end of the song, the whole crowd singing it.
Yep. Well, even now, as I said, I went and saw you guys at Southport RSL not that long ago, and you now have Dave Gleason fronting the band, who I think is a perfect fit. He's a perfect fit, man, because Doc his persona on stage was very iconic, and Dave Gleason isn't trying to be him. He's doing his own thing, but his own thing is very reminiscent of Doc, very inspired by Doc, maybe, but perfect. And he's up there leading the chant as well. Was he the natural choice when you guys decided to get back out on the road?
Yeah, he was.
Yep.
Yeah, he's the only one we approached.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
we like him too.
You knew him previously?
Yeah, we toured with Screaming Jets a couple of times, and I always used to watch Dave and think, yeah, if anything ever happens to Doc, he'd be my number one.
Yep. Sometimes
it was a good thing when he said yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a question there from Ben White. He's asking, are you using any modern digital units these days, like a Helix or a Kemper, or are you still old school?
No, I am. And I'm very glad I am too. Especially with what's likely to come up. Who knows? With flights, we might start having to pay a fortune for excess baggage.
Yeah.
But No, really, Dave Leslie inspired me, watching him and Susie for a whole tour playing with their fractals and listening to the tones. I just went, okay, there's something in this.
Yep.
Combination of listening to them and putting up with hired amps, which are hit and miss. Sometimes they're not serviced, sometimes they go down. Because the days of us carting, taking a semi-trailer on the road with a full road crew, our own amps, they went years ago. That's like 80s excess. So we developed this network of road crews and amp hire companies. And like I said, it's hit and miss. So I'm watching Dave Leslie, and then we come on and I'm playing through a really average Marshall or Fender, and shit, it just has not got the sound. Very frustrating.
Yeah.
So it took me a while, but then I got hold of a fractal. Same one Dave and Susie were using, the AX8, and first gig I did with it was Symphony of Angels up in QPAC, Brisbane.
Nice.
With symphony orchestra and 40-piece choir. And the sound was immediately one of the best I've ever had. And no amps on stage. You can't have amps on stage with an orchestra, or it goes straight through the orchestra mics. So that was great because it just goes DI straight to the PA and into our in-ear monitors. Great sound.
I was just about to ask if you were using in-ears.
You know yourself. If you get a good sound, you play 10 times better.
Absolutely. And you mentioned
you play like shit.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Dave Leslie putting you onto the fractals, and I know the moment that switched him over. I've known Dave for a while, and he told me he was playing a bit of a guitar thing where they had a whole bunch of Aussie guitar players, and they had hired backline, and a lot of the guys were using fractals and the like, and he had a rented Marshall, and it let him down. He was there trying to play, and it just, what is this crap? And one of those things, if your sound's not on, you're not on. And I can remember talking to him a while back. I was using the Kemper when I was touring in the Queen show, and him saying, I don't know, digital. But I think that was the turning point for him, was being let down by a backline. I looked at your pedal board, and you had an HX Stomp by Line 6 on there as well, if I remember right. Yeah?
Yeah.
Just recently, yeah?
I was going to ask you what you saw, because I went through a few. Because that was the first thing I got.
Okay.
Was an HX Stomp. And that was good. But it was mostly because I couldn't get hold of a fractal. And then I did. And I preferred it.
Yep.
So, and since then I've got hold of a Boss GT1000, who put me onto that. Birds.
Yep.
Rick Kingman.
Yep.
He said, "Why don't you try this?" Hasn't got as many amps on it.
Yep.
As the fractal, but if you find one you like, what else do you need?
Exactly.
So I got one and tried it. And I went, okay, this is very convenient because it sounds great, and it's got the inbuilt expression pedal. So yeah, Fractal or Boss or Line 6 or Kemper. I think they all essentially do the same thing.
Absolutely.
It's really convenience. It's not like, I mean, I've tried those things. I tried early Line 6 gear, the original kidney-shaped pods.
Yeah.
They sound like shit. You know, they really do sound like digital processed crap.
Yeah.
I've tried other preamps, and when Bob Spencer was playing with us, you know what Bob's like. He changes his sound every week, and he put me onto these things. He said, "Oh, you've got to try this with some rack-mounted preamp," and I used it for about 6 months, and convinced myself that it sounded good. And then one day it didn't work. It went down. So I grabbed my lead and plugged it into an amp.
Yep.
What have I been doing?
Yeah. So you mentioned that that the expression pedal. What kind of things are you assigning to your expression pedal? If you're still using one on the digital unit.
Yeah, I love the expression pedal. I love it as a volume pedal, because I've never got really comfortable with the finger one. Using a Strat, it's okay.
Yep.
But if I want to use any other guitar, if I want to do a volume swell, having it on the foot is brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Occasionally wah, but that's about as far as I've gone. I know Dave Leslie, he uses his for volume gain, you know.
So preamp. Is that what you mean? So it's like winding it down?
For amp gain.
Yeah.
Just to, I see him doing it all the time.
Yeah.
He's just gradually increasing the gain.
Cool. Like you would with your volume knob on your guitar, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a good tube amp reacts that way with a volume knob on the guitar.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, when I was talking to Bob Spencer a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned that a lot of all the Angel stuff that he recorded, he was using a little amp with an 8-inch speaker. Do you recall any little tricks that you have done over the years that people would be very surprised to hear? Because that's a big sound, but little speaker, I guess.
Yeah.
It just fit right in the mix.
If you listen to the On Salvation album, that whole album, the guitar sounds, that's all it is.
So you too, huh?
Yeah, we were in Memphis, and Terry Manning, who produced that album, he talked us into it. He even did a test in the studio. He said, "Okay, you know, play your parts on the Marshall or the big amp, whatever, and now play it on the little." Because we went out and bought a couple of little 8-inch speaker. I think we bought Fenders and Marshalls, and tried it, and then he A-B'd it in the control room. Didn't tell us which was which.
Yep.
You know, it was a taste test, and we all agreed the little one that's got the sound.
Yep.
It was something he learned from Jimmy Page.
Yeah, right.
He engineered, or he either engineered or was tape op, whatever, on the first Zeppelin album. He said Jimmy Page walked in with tiny little, I can't remember what it is, the legendary Jimmy Page amp.
Yep.
And a guitar, plugged it in, away he went. And he said, that's the way to go. Single speaker, small speaker, single speaker, forget the cabs for recording.
Yep.
But Bob and I, we decided to take that on the road. So we got Marshall cabinets and opened them up, put doors in the back and soundproofed them put these tiny little Fender amps inside with a microphone. So all you had to do was plug a lead into the back of the cabinet, and it was a Marshall cabinet. Put a dummy Marshall head on top, so you got the look.
Yep.
You got the sound of the little Fender, and it worked.
Wow. You know, that's quite funny. You just brought to mind, I used to have 2 Marshall 4x12s that I played through back when you could in stereo. And I put them up on eBay, and a chap came around to buy them off me, and he was buying them on behalf of Status Quo with the intent of gutting them and putting 2 AC30s in them, because apparently for one song their bass player played guitar. They're known for their Marshall backline, and they wanted to put the AC30 inside for is it John Lancaster? I'm not sure if I got his name right, to play just the one song. And it's like, oh, I've kept these things. Alan Lancaster, yeah.
Bass player.
Yeah. So this guy was actually from a Status Quo tribute band in Australia, but their cousin was in the real one, and they just had backline over here so that Status Quo could use it without having to freight all their gear over. Now, Rick, you asked me what did I see on your pedal board, and I said that I saw the HX Stomp, but you also had this other cool little box that had a picture of yourself, that just the silhouette that everybody knows you for, and it was called something like the Box of Awesomeness, Rick Brewster's Box of Awesomeness, and it had a couple of XLRs out on it. What was that all about? What's that for?
Box of Impressiveness.
Box of Impressiveness.
Yeah.
Impress me with what that was for.
It's not my term. That was our sound guy at the time. When I started using that box, he made up some stickers, and I turned up to a gig one day, and that was on it. Rick Brewster's Box of Impressiveness, which but he loved it, as did all the sound guys we worked with. But it's very simple. All it is a fixed loop with a switch to turn on the overdrive, but that switch also turns on, completes a. Let me go on. Go back to the amp on stage, and I would have 2 microphones on that amp. One mic went straight to front of house, call that rhythm, and the second mic went to my Box of Impressiveness, and out of that to front of house. So when I hit that switch, that second mic became active. Up till then, it's only one mic is active.
Okay.
So when I hit that, it gives me the overdrive boost, but it also turns on the second mic, and it means front of house. He can have solos preset, hand up the middle, whatever volume he wants on it, and then it's all up to me. I totally control when he gets that solo signal.
Awesome.
Anytime I hit that switch. And when you're working with different technicians, soundmen, it's huge. Because I've been there with someone who doesn't really know the songs, or you're doing a new song, you hit the solo, and you wait for a few bars, and then you hear the fader.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Because you can hear the room.
Yep.
And the room, where's the fucking solo?
Yep.
Come on. 3 bars later, he's got the level up.
Yeah.
So it cuts all of that out. I hit that switch, and it's bang, you're there.
Awesome. Now, I was very... yes. Box of Impressiveness. Now, I was very surprised when I saw you recently that you were playing a Strat style guitar. It looked like some type of custom jobby. Am I right in thinking it had a humbucker and 2 singles? What guitar was that, and what evolution of guitars have you had throughout the career?
That's my own guitar. I made that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When you say
A couple of
made,
years ago.
like out of pre-made parts, like warm-up parts, or something? No, completely.
From scratch.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool.
It's I was very lucky. It turned out to be a really good guitar.
Yep.
I think it was 2 years ago now. Sam Brewster, who's now a bass player.
Yep.
He said, "I'm going to make a guitar. I've signed up for a tape course, and I'm going to make a Les Paul." I said, "Okay." I've always wanted to make one. So, fuck you, Sam. I'm going to make one too. And I don't have to sign up for a TAFE course because I've got a workshop. All I had to do was buy a whole heap of specialist tools and make a lot of phone calls to Dwight Wood up in Brisbane, who makes guitars, and talk to a friend in Hobart, Paul Mineur, who makes guitars, and look at a whole lot of YouTube videos, tutorials on what to do. And I already had the timbre from Craig Upfold, who was a guitar maker in Central Coast. Very sadly died of leukemia about 8 years ago. And I've got a couple of his guitars, and they're stunning. But from his estate, I was given some silky oak
Nice
body blanks, beautiful timber, and it was a perfect way to use that. So that became the body. Mayton very kindly sent me some neck blanks, Queensland maple. Then I just had to buy all the hardware and look at a lot of demos, make a lot of phone calls, and hang on a sec.
You're right, mate.
What's happening? You got me?
You're still there?
Yeah, good. I had a phone call coming in.
Yeah, you're right. Yep, mine's always on silent.
Yeah, I just got right into it, passionate about it.
Yep.
And especially the shaping of the body and the neck.
Yep.
I put in a Fender bridge, Strat bridge. It's basically a Strat with a humbucker and 2 single poles. They were made. Those pickups were made by Dwight Wood, actually.
Okay.
In Brisbane. And I put in the Eric Clapton mid-boost circuit.
Cool.
Active.
Yep.
Because I have a Clapton Strat with that. And I liked it, so I put that in and used that for. It became my main guitar, which is why you saw it. And I used it solidly for a couple of years. I've now taken out the Clapton circuit and just got a standard passive pickups. So,
It sounded great when I saw it, but one thing I've learned over the years is toners in the fingers. So I'm sure you could play any guitar and it's going to come out sounding like Rick Brewster, because it's a lot more than just the bits of wood and strings. It comes from the soul of the musician. Now, Rick, let me ask you.
Someone has said that to me.
Sorry?
Someone has said that to me before, and same thing. Yeah, it just sounds like you. But it's completely different. There's different amp, different guitar. How can it be?
Yeah. I've heard classic stories of people. Dave Leslie told me about when he was playing through Eddie Van Halen's rig or Nuno's rig, and he goes, he's waiting for it to sound like those guys, but it just sounded like him. Whereas Eddie Van Halen came backstage and played through a little practice amp that they had going, and they're just like, fuck me, it was almost a clean sound, but it sounded like Eddie Van Halen. You know, it's definitely in the hands, you know, big time. You're saying about using these really loud amps over the years. Were you wearing earplugs then? You said you got in-ears now, in-ear monitors, but were you wearing any ear protection back in the day?
Eventually, but we didn't know any better for years.
Yeah.
Probably, I think it was about 1979 when I got worried about my hearing and finally went to an audiologist, and he said, well, yeah, it's too late now, you've done the damage, but protect your ears from now on, which I did.
Yep.
So from then on, I was wearing earplugs on stage.
Yep.
Thing is, all the bands were the same, and they're all deaf.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
From Pete Townsend through to Angus.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
I've heard that Clapton isn't touring anymore because he's all but stone deaf now.
yeah.
And you mentioned, you guys were writing songs 7 days a week. A lot of my damage got done in my late teens, early 20s, playing in a band, writing 4 nights a week. And I know this ear is down in my top end because the drummer, his cymbal was right here, be bashing away, and yeah, it was great. You could feel the Marshall stack, vibrating your pants and all that. But it takes its toll, man. I religiously now, and even Jennifer Batten said to me the other day in an interview I did with her that she won't even go to a comedy club or anything without her earplugs, because there's going to be some point where the comedian will cup the mic and do something, and it's and I experience the same. Are you really sensitive to loud noises and things now, do you find?
Not really.
No?
I got used to it. I just shut off to it. But I protect my ears. When, I do a lot of stuff around the house with power tools and hammers, explosive hammers and stuff.
Yeah, yep.
Nail guns.
Yeah.
And without the earplug, the earmuffs,
yep.
I feel it. But the trouble is, we're working 7 days a week, and what happens is you expose your ears to a lot of loud noise one night, and most people at a gig, they don't go to another gig for a week. So the eardrum that got stretched has time to go back into shape. But you do that night after night, and eventually it loses the elasticity. And that's industrial deafness. We've all got it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually spoken to...
Thought.
I'm wearing noise-cancelling headphones right now. And the thing is, as soon as I put those on, it really brings to my attention just the beep that's constantly in my head. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Billy Thorpe. I played for an artist around about 2000 that was Sony's pop signing at the time. They always have a male and a female artist that they're pushing at any one time. And his manager was Michael Browning, who managed AC/DC throughout the whole Bon Scott years.
Yeah.
And I can remember there was a TV series that came out on the ABC around that time called A Long Way to the Top. And he was featured heavily in that, interviews. And I asked him about that one time. And I said, oh, yeah, was that cool being interviewed for that? And he said, oh, man, it annoyed the crap out of me. And I said, why is that? He said, all they wanted to do was talk about AC/DC. but that's not my proudest achievement. I was like, oh, really? Tell me more. What's your proudest achievement? And he said that, mate, I was walking down the street one day, I think he said in Sydney. He heard this music coming out of a pub. And he just went, hello, what's this? And walked in. And he saw this guy playing. He went, that is the future of rock and roll right there. And he signed him up, and that was Billy Thorpe. Yeah. So before, when I was asking you about the bridge between playing Bob Dylan songs and the hard rock, do you think Billy Thorpe had a lot to do with that?
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah.
Between Billy Thorpe and then AC/DC.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
Certainly the turn the amp up.
Before we went live, we were talking about load boxes and the like, how that seems to be a thing for people now who want to still use their tube amps, be able to crank them up. And I've got a little device just behind me. This is always really awkward to do because it's backwards and it's not going to line up to you, Rick, because you're seeing a different camera. But that thing right there is a Fryette power station, which actually has a load box built into it, so I can crank a head into it. And then it has a 6L6 based power amp that I can use to re-amplify the sound at a more manageable volume, which is great because you got like a Soldano amp or something that really opens up and breathes by the time you turn it up to 7. But come on, you're blowing the windows out by that stage. Yeah. It's so loud. So that's a cool little device to do that. Yeah, it might be something worth investigating if you still want to dig out some of those old amps and see how it sounds.
Yeah, but then you've got to cart the amp.
True. Yeah. There's so much cool gear coming out, man. There's so much cool gear coming out.
I know. It's getting better and better.
It is. And I know the Axe FX has become a bit of a standard, but there's a chap in Germany by the name of Thomas Blug. He's one of the nicest guys in the manufacturing side of things that you'll ever meet. And he has a great thing called the Blue Guitar Amp 1, which is very much like Axe FX and the like. It's a floor amp. So it's all analog. It's got a little nano tube in there for the solid state power amp. And the best way to describe it is a 4-channel Marshall in a box that's very cartable. And I think you're going to see people start to use those a lot coming up.
What's it called? I'm going to write it down. Blue
Guitar, like his name's Thomas Blug, so it's BLUG. Blue Guitar. So
BLUG.
GUITAR. And it's called an Amp 1. Comes in 2 different models, depending on whether you want more of a classic or more of a metal sound. Hughes and Kettner do a very similar thing.
BLU.
I have to write it down to be able to spell it properly. BLU guitar, basically. BLUGUITAR. Yeah.
Blue Guitar.
Yeah. Blue Guitar Amp 1. Yeah, check that out. It's a very cool unit. Worth investigating. Now, you mentioned John's son Sam earlier. Playing bass for you guys, and when I came to sound check of you guys playing at Southport, Dave introduced me to Sam. He said, "Oh yeah, this is John Brewster's son." He failed to mention that he was actually playing bass for you guys, and it wasn't until you guys come on that I went, "Oh hello, I was just talking to him before, and now he's playing." So it's really come back to being a family affair for you guys, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah.
3 Brewsters.
Yeah. Is that family thing that we talked about earlier, of brothers playing, do you find that extends into now having your nephew playing bass?
Yeah, it probably does. I don't know. I mean, it really feels a lot like it used to feel with Chris Bailey playing. And that makes sense. They spent a lot of time together before Chris got too sick to come on the road. traded notes with each other. And when it came time, Chris, he basically handed over the baton. He just said, "Sam's your man,"
Cool.
which he was.
Yep. And who have you got on drums now? I didn't actually meet your drummer, but that was a younger guy playing drums
Nick
as
Norton.
well. Yeah? Where'd you find him?
Nick Norton. He grew up with Sam in Sydney. He's sort of been a friend throughout. He's had his own bands before, and when I met him, he was primarily a guitarist, singer, and but we knew John and I were doing a Brewster Brothers album in Harry Bandit's studio, and I don't know when it was, 2004 or something, but we walked through the studio one day and there was Nick Norton behind a drum kit, just on his own, playing. And that was it for us. We heard him play drums. And, so we roped him in as a drummer, and he's a freak. He plays great drums, great voice, great guitar player, and songwriter.
What more could you want? He's the right man for the gig then.
He's taking over. It'll be the Nortons. But no, it's good having. They're the young blood in the band. They keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
Got 3 generations in this band.
That's awesome, isn't it? That's awesome. Mate, you did say that you could spare half an hour of your time for me. Are you aware that we've actually been talking for over an hour now? I should round things up.
Just looked at the watch.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to.
That's fine.
On.
That's fine by me. I really do thank you for your time, Rick. I almost made the joke when we started that, Joe, I've got Rick Brewster, and with a haircut like mine, I'm Rick Rooster. But Rick, thank you very much, mate. And are you guys going to be back out on the road once things clear up with the current situation?
You bet.
You bet.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Well, I'll come along, mate, and I'll say
we're all going a bit stir crazy.
I bet. Well, I'm going to try and sneak into a sound check when you are back out on the road, and I'll come and say good day.
Yeah, good.
And again, thank you very much for your time.
I reckon it'll be sometime this year. We'll be doing something. We've got an EP that came out today.
Really?
Yeah, we managed to finish 5 songs that we recorded a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
Working towards the new album.
Yep.
So it's 5 of them were ready to go. Just needed solos, which I can do at home.
Yep.
And mixing, and we've got the guys in Adelaide with the super ears that do our mixing for us.
Yeah.
So that came out today. It's an EP called Under the Stone.
And where can people get that?
Well, the easiest thing is just to go to theangels.com.au.
Okay.
And everything's there. There's a link to the release. There's the story on it. But yeah, that's been a great project to do in isolation.
Yeah.
And a couple of film clips. There's a film clip for the song. The first song released is called Under the Stone.
Cool. Rick, I'm just going to jump in and say I really need to take what's called a bio break, apparently. I'm going to get you to keep talking about the new album, and I can still hear you. I'm just going to come back in 30 seconds, mate. So tell us a bit more about the album, if you don't mind. And I'll be back in just a second.
Well, I don't know. 5 tracks. Under the Stone. We've been working that up live for the last year, probably, to the point where we're happy with the arrangement. It's like the old days. That's what we used to do with all the new songs. We would just test them out live, and good old Australian audience, pretty hard audience to play to. They would tell us straight away, we love it or we hate it. that used to influence us. So there's one track on it called Heart to Heart, which is a song I wrote 3 or 4 years ago, and finally recorded it with the band. It was 7 minutes of really my taking off the hat to Pink Floyd.
Nice.
Unashamedly.
Yep. Well, you got to acknowledge those influences. Do you mind if
It's very difficult talking without you.
I know. I could hear you, and yeah, some people. Usually, I don't say anything, and I just sort of do this to them for what it's changed, and it puts people on the spot. Do you mind if I just ask you a couple more questions before we round it up? I was trying to round it up before because I thought I'm going to fucking piss myself if I. I drink way too much coffee in the morning, and it comes to midday, and it has to go somewhere.
If you can see, I've got my legs crossed.
Yeah, okay. I just want to quickly ask you about your influences. You mentioned David Gilmour then, and a not so subtle nod to him. Is there any other names that spring to mind that were big influences?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Beatles are a huge influence. Bob Dylan, more so to John than me. John's a massive Dylan fan. But all those bands, AC/DC is a big influence, Rolling Stones, bands like Creedence, John Fogerty. Where do I begin?
Yeah.
Stevie Ray.
Yep.
Hendrix, they all play a part. I always say Beethoven because he is a major influence for me.
Yeah, right. You mentioned Creedence, and I went and saw John Fogerty probably about 5 years ago now. His tone was amazing live. It was at the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, which...
Telecaster?
He used a different guitar for every song, but he had his speakers behind him laying on their back and pointed up at the ceiling, so I guess we didn't get much spill. But his tone was phenomenal, man. I never really gave him credit as a guitar player before seeing that, but he was amazing.
Yeah, I think he's amazing too.
Yeah.
Have you seen David Gilmour at the Coliseum? I think it is.
I've seen a couple of his. One at...
Yeah, this was live with an audience at the Coliseum, which is where Pink Floyd did a film clip.
In Pompeii or something.
With no audience.
Yep.
But Gilmour put a whole production, light show, audience in this place. Check it out. It's... when you talk tone and using a different guitar for every song, sometimes he's using a Gretsch, Strat, Les Paul, tones to die for.
His note choice is just incredible, though. He plays a lot of... so a lot of guys will just noodle with a pentatonic scale, whereas I find the melodic stuff of Dave Gilmour, it's the notes of the chord that he's playing. It's basically, he's just, if he's playing it's a C chord, the C, E, and the G are the major notes that he's playing in that, and it just fits and sings as opposed to just a pentatonic noodling, I guess. Yeah. Does that come into your playing as well? Do you play around the chord when you're writing your solos?
Yeah, it's the only way I can do it.
Yeah.
But he... what I was going to say about him is it's one of the things that impresses me the most is what he doesn't play. He's a sparse player, and and the gaps are just
Yeah.
waiting for that next note.
Yeah.
But I've heard his approach to writing solos. I don't know if it's all the time or whatever, but he sings on a microphone. He sings in solos.
Yep.
Does a whole lot of takes,
yep.
and then he just picks the one he likes and
yep.
plays that on the guitar.
Yep. And that goes back to what you were saying, from your father who was a cellist and saying to make it sing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Make the melody sing.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that, Rick, I'm going to let you go because you have graciously given me more time than expected. So I'm going to hit the magic end screen button, and I will bid a farewell to the viewers. And thanks for tuning in. See you on the next episode. Who have I got next? Brett Garsed on Monday from the John Farnham Band. Now that's one player. But what impresses me about Brett is when he is limited by putting a slide on his finger and he loses all the fast legato stuff. That's another guy that can make that thing sing. So, Thanks again, Rick. See you later, and bye for now.